Okay, so we can start our second session of the afternoon. We will switch to visual arts with Dominique Moulon, and the chair of this session will be Antonio Somaini, friend and colleague of Paris 3 Sorbonne Nouvelle. He's a professor in media studies. Antonio is a specialist in media theories of the 20s, Walter Benjamin, Laszlo Molinage, Sergei Eisenstein, and at present he is writing a book on the concept and the history of the concept of medium. So thank you very much, Antonio, for chairing this session.
Thank you, Andrea, for inviting me to be here today. So we now, after the wonderful session of this morning, we switch to other areas of this very interdisciplinary conference. We now move to aesthetics and art criticism, to cultural anthropology, and to philosophy. And our first speaker, we will have 3 papers and a respondent. I will present them one by one when the moment comes. Our first speaker is Dominique Moulon, art critic and independent curator. He teaches creative technology at the École Professionnelle Supérieure d'Art Graphique here in Paris. He's also been a regular guest professor at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago and at the École Nationale des Beaux-Arts here in Paris. Also at the Frenois Studio National des Arts Contemporains, close to Lille, and at the Université Paris 8. He's the author of the books Contemporary New Media Art, Art and Digital Resonating, and very recently, Art Beyond Digital. His paper is entitled The Art of Acting Somewhere Else. And please, Dominique, up to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. The title is a little bit different because you know that when you're asked for a topic 2 months earlier, you're sure you will talk about it and then you change your mind. So, but this is about Avatar and Double. So, thank you so much, Andrea, for this invitation. I remember that a few months ago we were there together with 3 cameras, recording you, talking to me about entering the image. And it was for the MOOC Digital Media Paris that is created by the EPSA school where I teach, which is a school that is a school of the city of Paris, and the department that runs the school also takes care of this place. So I'm very happy to be here. So I'm going to talk about not entering the image, but entering the machine, meaning being into the machine, out of the machine, being the machine, not being the machine. And I'm going to start with Baron Kempelen. And I just asked if it was talked about this morning, but I guess that a lot of people know the story of the Mechanical Turk. The Mechanical Turk nowadays being a service of Amazon, to propose many people to work at their place or maybe in their companies and to earn some little money by acting not exactly like a robot, not like a machine. So the idea is pretty interesting. This is the idea of an automaton, or supposed to be an automaton, and the Kempelen Baron during the 18th century was like a magician introducing the furniture and the Mechanical Turk by pretending that it was totally autonomous. This it was not true. It was more like something like a fake. This is why finally it's closer to arts and science, or in between art and science. So a guy, maybe there are different interpretations. Maybe someone pretty small or someone without legs, but pretty good at chess. So who won against the most powerful people around the world, meaning kings and emperors. So it was not the machine, it was the avatar of the guy hidden into the machine that was a pretty good chess player. But we only remember the name of the Mechanical Turk and the name of the author of this crazy idea, not the name of the man or the woman that was hidden into the machine. So this is the beginning of this talk about into, out of the machine. Here, this picture is a picture that was taken after the match opposing one of the best ever chess player, Garry Kasparov. It was in 1997, and against a machine. So here there is no one but the machine that is left on the desktop. Garry Kasparov sat here, and someone acting on the computer sat here. But we could also consider that in this match that opposed someone against a machine, first the scientist at IBM, I guess, might have been influenced or inspired by the Campbell Baron. Secondly, IBM was in a situation very, very powerful about computing. Nowadays, it would be Google that would act this way. And finally, Google did it with another game that was Go last year to say our machine are definitely better than humans to play Go. So an artist, two artists, Fabien Giraud and Raphaël Siboni, decided to create an artwork by using the idea of this match, and they named it brute force. Brute force is the force, the only force of the computer, the force of something that doesn't think, something that by computing, calculating, knowing, being trained to chess, to painting, to recognize faces, and etc. does. Meaning artificial intelligence nowadays is only able to do one thing at a time, at the opposite of humans. Even a kid could recognize a face and a dog and a car. A machine would be trained to recognize only faces. So there is finally no one into the machine that played against Garry Kasparov. Or at the opposite, we could consider that it was the avatar of many, 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 many people, meaning those who played chess earlier and their games being entered into the machine. The machine was trained with all these games and was able to play one more match and to win against Garry Kasparov. So here is a video of these two artists. I'm gonna show just some. I'm gonna show some very short video samples, and there is also something that is interesting, the name brute force. It was used very recently by this brute force by FBI, asking Apple, would you please give me the code to unlock the cell phone because of a terrorist attack, and Apple said no. So IBM used the brute, FBI used the brute force to try to calculate one after the other all the possible passwords of the cell phone. So let's continue talking about the idea of avatar. And this is, on the left, another avatar. This is also about artificial intelligence. Someone named Martin Rosrow, who is not dead, who was a very powerful businessman and who became a businesswoman. So by changing from a gender to another, he became instantaneously the richest businesswoman at the time. And he, meaning she, had some kind of crazy idea, an idea that fascinates transhumanism community, meaning recreating someone. Also, he, meaning she, had the idea to recreate her wife. So her wife, whose name is Bina, but this is also the acronym of the computer that was created by a man. Bina looks like the real Bina, a real person, that is an African-American woman, that had some exchanges with her avatar, and Bina fed the avatar with her thinking, her memory, her souvenirs, way of thinking, and etc. And someday, recently, an artist who is Stephanie Dinkins decided to talk with the avatar of the real person, Bina, and to ask her a few questions. And she decided at first, because she is involved in gender, race, and many contemporary topics of that kind, to ask her a question about racism. And she understood that at the very moment she asked a question to the avatar of a real person, the avatar of a African-American woman.
Do you know racism?
Well, I actually didn't have it.
So this is online and you can look to it entirely, but she felt, Stephanie Dinkins, as a young African-American, involved in the community of gender and race and etc. She felt the avatar by being a little bit embarrassed by the question of racism. So she asks herself, why on earth the avatar of an African-American wouldn't be comfortable to answer this kind of question? And she finally said, but this is not me. This is another avatar. So she said, finally, we should consider who fed the machine with the thinking of the real Bina. And who fed the machine, who fed the avatar, is a man, a white male, probably who studied in San Francisco. Meaning, I'm talking about soft power through the avatar. I know a lot of things about America because of Hollywood. Nowadays, I think that my way of thinking is a little bit faced by Amazon, by Facebook, by what we call the GAFA. So it means probably the soft power of cinema may be moved up a little bit, a few 100 kilometers up to stay in San Francisco. And I think that these people, for the better or the worse, maybe are trying to sculpt the intelligence of the machine we will face to, or we are facing to, when I guess recently you have been proposed to buy a book on Amazon that you already have. So let's continue to talk about avatars. And again, there is a man in this machine, and I met the artist frequently. I saw this artwork. Last time I was giving a conference about artificial intelligence. He decided to initiate his talk by talking about the Kempelen Baron, like I did. And this machine is another machine, or let's say some kind of another avatar, but there is still a man in this machine. Louis-Philippe Demers. The name of the robot is the blind robot. So we have this idea, even if I think that it's not totally true, blind people might be helped with the touching to have a better knowledge of someone. By the way, they don't do that in the subway to see you. So what is interesting when I saw this other machine, by having someone into the machine, is when I see robots in the context of art, I'm not interested in the robots. I'm usually more interested in the people. The way they trust the machine, the way they give their confidence to the machine, the relationship that is established with the machine, that maybe at this very moment they think is totally autonomous. And the artist told me, you know, Dominique, in Singapore, where he's based, in a research laboratory, he would have been very, very happy to do it for real, but he was unable to do it for real, maybe for a lack of funding. So he decided to be hidden behind the curtains, and he helped a student of him to manipulate the machine. So there is finally still someone into the machine. And and obviously someone in front of the machine. And each time I see that in Linz, in Montreal, and other places around the world, I really look at the people, the way finally they establish some kind of relationship with the avatar of a real person that is hidden somewhere behind the curtain. I had the possibility to meet the guy, meaning the one on the right are in Linz or Electronica, and the one on the left, Geminoid HI1, created by Hiroshi Ishiguro. So Hiroshi Ishiguro said, by creating my kind of avatar, I could send the avatar to give a class instead of me, so I could stay at my place and give the class. This is the pure dream of any professor. And what is interesting here is that finally it is definitely not about intelligence. It is more about presence. When I saw this avatar for the first time during the festival Ars Electronica, I sat in front of the robot and I really had the feeling of having someone in front of me because of the moving of his eyes. Do you see that? Some kind of non-controlled motion on his face. So I couldn't sit in front of him because he was surrounded by kids, by teenagers, asking him many questions about music video, entertainment, video games, and etc. And the machine, the avatar, was able to answer any question. So I was, oh my God, he is very, 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 very smart. And I didn't know that there was, again, someone into the machine. And I finally kind of wanted to refuse it, like the people in front of the Baron Campelen chess player. It had to be a real machine. Here again, it had to be a real machine. But the day after, I woke up early in the morning, and I decided to go back with my friend Gilles Alvarez, who is right here. We frequently travel together, back to the Ars Electronica Center. And I was alone. I mean, after the long night, to be sat in front of the robot, the teenagers were probably continuing to sleep. And I asked the robot a few questions, meaning the question you would like to ask some created person, meaning, do you believe in God, or who created you, or things like that. Finally, pretty silly, not that interesting thing, but the machine was kind of like the machine was asked, what about racism? The machine was kind of embarrassed by my questions, and I was deeply, deeply disappointed. So I decided to move up and to go up with the stairs. Look at the way he moves. His head. It's finally interesting. He also looks annoyed by the one that is playing with his face. And what is interesting that I finally discovered that someone was again into the machine and answering the questions. And maybe the guy who answered the question the day before to the teenagers was not the same guy answering my question, because the way he answered was definitely less interesting. So I decided to continue to visit this festival with a lot of interesting like that, but a little bit disappointed by this second meeting. So again, there is another woman in the machine. Her name is Marie. This artwork was created by Luc Courchaine. It was in 1990, and he asked someone to enter again into the machine. And this is definitely what we called by asking her questions to Marie, meaning almost 30 years ago, we were able to ask a few questions, meaning, for example, hey, how are you doing? Who are you? Portrait one. And we knew that we were talking to an avatar. But recently I have had the possibility to exhibit this artwork a few years ago. So the first question that I asked to the artist, is Marie still living? I get that she is a little bit older than we are, than I am. So each time I meet him, he answers me, yes, she's still living. She lives in Montreal, but we're definitely not anymore talking to an avatar, but we know that we're talking to someone of the past. So it recalls me the idea of Adolfo Biao Casares and the story of the Morel's invention, where someone who is in love in someone else, by repeating and repeating and repeating this kind of situation, have the feeling to exchange with someone that is someone of the past. So this is definitely the situation I was for the second time, meaning 25 years later, I was not anymore talking with an avatar, because everybody right now, right here, knows what is an avatar. We discovered Avatar 20 years ago, meaning I discovered avatars 20 years ago by playing games in the context of virtual art, conferences, and etc. So what was an avatar 30 years ago? Maybe it's not exactly an avatar 30 years later. Who is this one? Catherine Icam and Louis Ferry had the idea to give the possibility to the audience, to the public, to enter into the machine. So it was, I exhibited it too, close to the other side of the river Seine at the City International of the Art. And what is interesting is that there is some apparatus for those who are a little bit nerdy that I am. This is a Kinect, and it's pretty useful to help people entering into the image or the machine. So what is interesting is that there is not anymore an avatar, someone else, but this is yourself that you are looking at. So for the first time, meaning if you forget about the mirror, you are initiating a relationship with someone in the image, in the three-dimensional space, that is you. And what is interesting is that nowadays it's not that crazy to repeat that we are made of the same kind of blood, but into the machine, into the virtual space, we are also made of the same particulars, because all these particulars, they build a face, they build your face. When you leave the room of the installation, the particular will explode and rebuild another face. So finally, everybody in this situation is made of the same particulars. I think that these days it's not totally crazy to repeat this kind of thing. So this is another avatar. Let's say this is one avatar, the avatar of a real artist. So I exhibited it, but not as a performance, as a video piece. And here is the artist with the avatar of herself, and she is here. The avatar will arrive, and he will talk, or she will talk, or we don't exactly know who is talking. What is interesting, at the opposite of Ed Atkins, I know that you're interested in Ed Atkins, maybe you will talk about it. I will, a little bit. There are artists that are creating some 3D models that are pretty close to the human body. This one is not. This one is not perfect. And I think that if there is place for bugs, accidents, imperfection, non-perfection, this is definitely using computers in the context of art, because in the context of companies, we love perfection. We sell, we buy perfection. So here is the avatar, and Judith Deschamps is finally presenting herself and the second double or avatar.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Okay. I hope you hear me well. Thank you for being here to this lecture video. I'd like to thank Christian and Beth for his introduction and for bringing me here. It wasn't easy, I'm afraid, to get me here, but I am here and I am very happy to be there. My name is Judith Deschamps and I'm supposed to be an artist.
I am supposed to be an artist, and the machine, the avatar, while the artist is writing. We don't know exactly what she's doing. She's finally one of the members of the audience, of the one that gives the performance, and the one is the avatar of the artist. So I'm going to continue to show a second example. Here is not one avatar, but three avatars. The three avatars of Orlan, who recently told me, you know, Dominique, I decided to stop to perform with my real body. So this is the right moment to perform with my virtual body, meaning she had her body scanned, entirely scanned, and she is here representing the liberty, and here and there measuring, because she has a performance. She had a performance that she gave many times in many countries in front of the Pompidou Center, the Museum of Modern Art of New York, and other kind of very powerful institutions, by measuring and by saying, your institution is finally nothing more than 27 Orlan and a half. So this is exactly the performance that she gave as a video installation that I also presented by acting very slowly. And by the way, one of her first ever performance was to walk into the city by walking very slowly. She was still a student in an art school in another city, and she became the artist that we know. So it means finally by having her body totally scanned with this kind of apparatus to take the blood pressure and the motion of the muscles and etc. She decided to create the avatar of a body to give the performance, while she finally could not be present at the very moment of her performance. And one avatar, three avatars, countless avatars. I was talking about Ed Atkins, and I saw recently in Boston an installation that was pretty interesting, named Safe Conduct. And Safe Conduct was, during war, the papers that you would have to give to someone else to be able to enter some restricted area. And by the way, when you are in one airport, you have to prove your identity, that you are identical to who you are, with a picture. And in Safe Conduct, this artwork, Ed Atkins, that it's used to saying that he represents himself in this installation. This is a trailer. There is an avatar and another avatar and another avatar and another avatar, meaning we talked about one avatar, three avatars, and now countless avatars. Finally, we are wearing masks as by pretending that we're someone else. And if you get rid of a mask, there is another and another. I've got a mask on Facebook, I've got a mask on Twitter, I've got a mask on LinkedIn, and etc. So, thank you. Here is another avatar, or let's say two other avatars, giving a performance. And it's interesting to mention that in 1977, these artists, Marina Abramovic and Ulay, gave the performance by being totally naked at the entrance of the museum. I'm not sure you could do that right now, neither in Roma nor in Paris nor in the UK or some other cities. So right now we're able to do that, but in the virtual only. Time change. We're not in Kansas anymore, I would say. So these are two Italian artists who are used to reenact some performances, Eva and Franco Mares, and they decided to reenact these performance, but by doing it inside the virtual world that was very trendy 10 years ago. I was used to visit many places around the world, the virtual world, by flying over the sea and etc., and sometimes by being even naked. The very question right here is, as an avatar or a real person, controlling the avatar or controlling yourself, would you do it in front of the woman or in front of the man, according to many things? I think I would have preferred to do it in 1977. So, another avatar about identity is the one of Artie Virkant. The artist asked a real person, this person, to sign some contract by saying, okay, I give you the possibility to do whatever you want with my identity, with what proves my identity, meaning my face and my body. So he had the real person entirely scanned, and right now, Artie Virkant can create whatever image of this person, and this person can't say anything to the artist, exhibiting, showing, picturing, screening the person. So this is definitely, again, about the avatar and the question of identity, and this is definitely the topic of the day. There are some avatars, again, by Thibaut Brunet, into the virtual world we play in. And these people have their eyes totally empty, and I guess that people fighting in wars, right after killing, they might be without nothing in their eyes the same way. These two avatars, I'm gonna stop very quickly. These two avatars are avatars meaning in the real world, meaning we are moving. We moved from the real to the virtual, and we are again moving from the virtual to the real. This is a real avatar, a real person that is controlled, this one, that is controlled by someone else, meaning these two players, I'm sorry, I don't know where they are. There are two players somewhere that are controlling the avatar. So this is, again, some kind of dream to be able to control someone else, or maybe we're already controlled by some machine instead of some human. And I'm gonna start by showing this example. The present one was by Projectiva, and this one is by Aram Bartol. He's used to organizing some workshop, and during this workshop, some slaves had to hang the name of the avatars of the real people. The name is WoW, World of Warcraft. This is the way we walk into the virtual. I'm gonna start with this one, scale one, the real perfect avatar of a real person. There is an hermaphrodite sleeping in the Louvre. This one is not an hermaphrodite because we don't use anymore this word. This is an intersex, a real person, a real body by Frank Benson, and the name of Juliana Huxtable. And she's both a man and a woman, and as we can see. And when I put this image on my Facebook page, Facebook decided to get rid of it because someone said, this is not normal, this is not moral, you have to get rid of it. And the robot asked me, do you agree? And I said, no, I disagree. And finally, I guess that someone, a man or a woman, or maybe both, decided to put again the image on Facebook. So I want now not to thank Facebook, but to thank the avatars of Facebook that were real person that put again this image. Thank you so much.